days after Kevin Durant said Kawhi Leonard was a product of the Spurs system on Twitter, which for some seemed like an insult, Durant went to Facebook to apologize. Sort of. Let's look. He says, the last time I'm going to talk about this. I did not hate on Kawhi Leonard. Quite honestly, if you knew me or been around me, you would see how excited I was for such a young, humble guy. But this world loves conflict, I see. I really gave major props to the coach, Pop, and the whole staff for putting those guys in great positions to be successful. I've realized you can't say anything about a champion, so if I hurt anybody's feelings, I apologize. I really don't, but you get my drift. Stephen A., he apologizes, but he really doesn't. What do you make of this latest comment from Kevin Durant?
We all know how I feel about Kevin Durant, superstar, great ambassador for the game of basketball, one of the best people you can find, and I think that was exemplified during his speech when he accepted the MVP award. He's a wonderful dude. He's not perfect, and we all understand that. The only thing that I would say to Kevin Durant, and I hope he's listening, is that here's what's starting to get on everybody's nerves about you, Kevin Durant. You say something and you do something, and then you act like it's somebody else's fault for reacting to what you said and do. That's not right. Kawhi Leonard just won the NBA championship with the San Antonio Spurs. You are on the record saying that he's just a product of the system. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the exact quote in front of me. But how do you anticipate and expect that to be interpreted? I know Kevin Durant is only 25. But it's safe to say he's not 5. Kevin Durant is a highly intelligent young man. He speaks fluent English. He knows how to answer questions. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he means. So if you say something, how is it everybody else's fault the minute somebody calls you to the carpet for it? If it was something that was convoluted and misinterpreted and what have you, I can respect it. But those are direct comments that you made. How is that other people's fault? How is that somebody making something out of nothing? How is that somebody, harping on the negative? What would there be to harp on had you not said something negative? And then to sit there and to act like you didn't say anything negative, it's just a figment of folks' imagination. It's to essentially call us, ignorant, like we can't understand English. We saw what you said. We heard what you said. And I'm like, just own it. And if you want to apologize, apologize. If you don't want to apologize, don't apologize. I don't care. But what I don't like is how it seems to be somebody else's fault every time you say something and people happen to disagree with you. And I don't like that. Kevin's better than that. He's better than that. I might not have liked what he said about Kawhi. I might have been on the record saying the man just won a ring, show some respect. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that Kevin Durant's a bad guy, that all of a sudden he's not a star, that all of a sudden he's a pariah and we're not going to respect him. We just respectfully disagree with your statement. But at least have the decency to own it, as opposed to this has become a habit with him.
It has.
Where it's somebody else's fault.
Yep.
And it's always somebody else being negative. Kevin, we were minding our business. Nobody asked you to go on Facebook or Twitter and say what you said. You lost in the conference finals. Nobody was even thinking about you. We're waiting until next season to see your greatness. Nobody was bothering you. You made the decision to come out and say what you said. Own it and leave it be. But don't come to us acting like somebody has created something negative from your words where you know good and damn well what you said. Come on, man. You better than that. You better than that, Kevin Durant. You just are.
I agree. Not only did he not own it, he poured a little more gasoline onto the fire that he started with that last line of, I apologize, parentheses, but I really don't, close parentheses. Well, then what are you doing on Facebook? What is the point? You stepped in it on Twitter, you deleted the tweets on Twitter, and now you go on Facebook to try to put it in the right perspective, and you put it in the wrong perspective. Do you apologize or not? Apparently you don't. Apparently you're just thin-skinned and ticked off that people took this, in your view, the wrong way. What other way can we take it? As Stephen A. just said, you said what you said. it did seem a little beneath your dignity. It did seem a little sour grapey to me because you did get your butt kicked by a team without Tony Parker in the second half of Game 6 in your arena. So just be quiet or own it. And Stephen A., I want to hark back to one profound thing that came out of the mouth of Lil Wayne when he was on our show in Miami, talking about LeBron, and he brought up Kevin Durant, and he said, you know, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he said, they don't always have killer instinct. Well, to me, you either have it or you don't, like you can't turn that on or off. But this is a very small indication. This is about the killer instinct that Kobe has, that MJ had, and that they wouldn't keep falling back into this trap. They would own what they said. If they said it, they would just stand by it and go on to the next day. Move on. If that's what you wanted to say, fine. Then go play next year and back it up when it's time to back it up. But in this case, he seems smaller and smaller to me.
Well, I'm not going to go that far because I just think that there's such a profound level of integrity and decency associated with Kevin Durant that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm gonna modify Lil Wayne's statement. That killer instinct, Skip, I think he and they have the killer instinct. You know what I think the Oklahoma City Thunder problem is right now? Their killer instinct is aimed more towards the media than it is towards the opposition. Now, in Russell Westbrook's case, you know, certainly it's definitely the opponent. But the level of sensitivity that these people have is really starting to disturb me because it's totally unnecessary. Kevin Durant, I stand by what I said. Great ambassador, great person, great player, worthy of the league MVP. Skip, I was calling it in December. The man winning the MVP,
you did.
okay? Because it's just that surreal, all right? And you know how I feel about him as a person. But he turns around constantly and is pointing the finger at other people for creating stuff when it's actually him. You got him in combination with Russell Westbrook. The way they act towards people sometimes, it's like everybody is the enemy. You're talking basketball. You know, somebody comes up to you and says, well, does he shoot the ball too much? Do you guys need to get together and figure out something? It's y'all being negative. No, it's not our eyes seeing why you may be losing games. It's us. We're the problem. You know, the headline for the Oklahoman, somebody foolishly puts the headline there, and what does Sam Presti do as the guy, the GM, running basketball operations? Oh, because somebody, and they were wrong to question Kevin Durant to the degree that they did, and they should have more of an appreciation. But that's some copy editor. The writer is responsible for the most part for what's under his byline, not what's above his byline, okay? Now, if Kevin Durant didn't know that, Scott Brooks and Sam Presti and them know that. They're experienced enough to know that. And they knew that that's what it was. But what does Sam Presti do? And he comes up. He brings up the tragedy from the tornado or whatever it was a year earlier. Yeah. It's like, really? Really? They're talking about basketball, and here you are coming with this. There's just a level of sensitivity that this organization has that's starting to alarm me because it's trickling down to the players, and nobody is putting on their big boy pants and simply saying, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. They're just talking basketball. Nobody's doing that. They treat everything like it's a federal issue.
They do.
And I'm concerned about that because
I agree.
How does Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant grow if you're going to act like that?
Yeah, I agree.
Ridiculous.
I think Kevin is somewhat a product of an organization that gets fueled by this secretive paranoia of all the management and the brass and the ownership. And I don't like it either because it reeks of vulnerability to me. Like you're a little afraid of what people might think about this. Just be yourself. Just go for it until they.
Last statement.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Last statement. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and those guys, superstar players as far as I'm concerned. And superstar people, just a little bit too sensitive. I got news for y'all. Y'all haven't really felt any heat yet. But you keep acting this way, it's going to come.
All right.
I'm going to leave it at that.
And we leave it at that. Coming up next, Jameis Winston's dad